Welcome to Jon Ferrian Live. How the heck is everybody doing on this amazing Valentine's evening 2021? We're living large, enjoying a little Valentine's Day. Hopefully you guys got out for some Valentine's pow today, whether you're on your snowmobiles or on your skis or your snowshoes or snowboards, whatever it is. I know right here in my backyard, which is really unusual, we have some snowmobiling right in the neighborhood. I didn't do it, but I saw the neighbors out with their snowmobiles ripping around the neighborhood, having a good time. I've seen lots of pictures from around the Pacific Northwest here where we got hammered pretty good, even at low elevations. So, again, hope you guys are having an amazing Valentine's Day. And if you don't have a sweetheart, I'll be your sweetheart tonight. Yeah, I just said that. Yep. Edith won't mind, right? Edith, you'll share me with everybody. Edith's in the other room. She shares me with you guys every Sunday night. Why should this night be any different? So I'll be your Valentine's night. Tune on in, come on in, and don't forget to share the show out. We have got the AIARE team here. We've got Jeff Hambelton and VIckie Hormuth is here from AIARE tonight, and we're going to be talking about some amazing things that they've got going on for the season so far. And before we do, when you guys share this out, you're eligible and in to win one of my personal favorite products. I've got 3 of these. I've actually got one of each color, and I love these things. This is a wind-proof jersey. The whole front, the sleeves, is all like a really it's not waterproof technically, even though I think it's waterproof. I've spilled coffee on it. I've had water on it. It beads up. But the back of it is wide open, kind of a nice lightweight mesh, and it's breathable, but wind resistant on the front side. You guys, this is an amazing jersey, a $75 value just for sharing the show out tonight. We're going to get you in to win. So tune in, everybody. Let's get going, and let me tune out the music here, and we'll make some introductions to VIckie and Jeff here in 3, 2, and 1. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Jeff,
Thanks,
I offered everybody I could be their Valentine today. You want to take me up on that, or do you got your own Valentine?
I've got a Valentine at home here. She's awesome. She made me dinner tonight, so I'm good. Thank you, though.
I figured you were good. VIckie, I know you probably have a Valentine already too, right?
So many Valentines, but one special one.
Yes, your husband, hopefully. Awesome. Now that I've thoroughly made this show completely awkward at the beginning, we're going to dive into some awesome announcements and some good things. And so for a quick refresher, we're not going to go deep dive into who these folks are because you've already met them hopefully on previous episodes. If not, you can go back and search and look up Jeff Hambelton and VIckie Hormuth. But Jeff here is our motorized program manager. I probably messed that up, Jeff. Feel free to correct me. So program manager for AIARE. This year is a new role. And VIckie, you're an executive you're the executive director of AIARE for, is it 2 seasons, 3 seasons? How many seasons you got under your belt now?
18 months, John.
Oh, that's like a season and a half.
Season and a half.
Yeah, like 18 months. You're like an expert now.
But one of those is a COVID season, so I feel like it's longer.
COVID years, like COVID-19, it's like 19 years at the end. Like 1 year is like 19 years. So yeah, you're like 20 years in at this point. So
feels like it.
Man, what a crazy season. What a crazy season we have. And it's something. I know, VIckie, you and I were chatting with Jeff here just beforehand a little bit, and we'll touch on a little bit now, but we'll probably go into a little bit more at the end of the show. But just want to acknowledge that it's been kind of a crazy season this year in regards to avalanche accidents and incidents, and unfortunately some avalanche fatalities across the country. And it sounds like we got even a new one that came out today in Colorado. And just want to recognize how important it is, the work that AIARE is doing to try and get the information and the education out to the public, and to share this. Just share this out is just so meaningful. And I think it's so powerful when you hear about these stories that keep coming in, unfortunately, and we just know that we got so much more work to do. And the more we can get this information out and have everybody share it, the more valuable and impactful we can continue to make this work. So, but just don't want to let the moment go by without reflecting on the fact that this is the real deal, and it's a serious program that we're all working on. So.
Thanks for giving us the space on that, John. AIARE's mission is to save lives through avalanche education. So this is, very, very impactful for us. It's why AIARE instructors do the work they do, is on every level they're connected with that, and they're impacted by it, and they want to give back to their community. So this is a pretty clear intersection.
Yeah. And Jeff, I know just a little over a week ago, I had the opportunity to actually go through I don't want to say what is the word I'm looking for? It's the companion rescue course with you. You were actually one of my instructors as I went through a companion rescue course. And, to be able to ride with you a few days right after that course, and I had just finished my level 1 course, I want to just say that, being able to ride with you in what I would consider pretty high. I mean, it was legitimately high avalanche conditions. And to take our Ride Rasmussen crew that we had with the driven team, with Kerry Vammer, and to have, the different professionals there, including Ride Rasmussen, which is an AIARE provider, having Jeff Yu there as the AIARE motorist, but like, it's probably the most comforting I've ever felt in regards to being out in what would be considered a high avalanche danger day and having a crew of people who are equipped to make the right decisions and to have a safe day, which proved out. Like our group, we had an amazing time in the deep snow, epic snow conditions, literally 4 to 5 feet of powder we were busting through. I mean, we were trying to stay out of the creeks and drainages so we didn't get, submerged in snow there. But to be able to do that without any risk to the riding group too, it was just amazing once you apply this knowledge to how you choose your terrain. And like firsthand experience I had was that, this system really does work. So nice job on that.
Cool. I'm glad you had a good time on that. That trip was just amazing. We got blessed with some really, really good snow those last couple of days. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
good
awesome.
times.
Well, Vickie, I actually want to turn it over to you just for a minute here. And I know this is kind of our first season where you have an AIARE motorized, dedicated resource, right? Like before, it was the overall team was kind of like juggling what I call the flaming machetes, which is your daily workload of trying to manage it all and to dedicate the appropriate amount of time to an emerging part of the business, which is your motorized program, right? And what's it been like this year having Jeff here to help kind of guide the program, and like, how does that help you guys balance the workload at AIARE?
Yeah, I mean, it's really been incredible. For starters, part of the funding from the Climb Sweepstakes and from some of our motorized sponsors, 2B and Deviant Inc. have been incredible supporters of ours, has helped us support this new position, the motorized position.
Yeah.
Before, the responsibilities for the motorized program was spread across a couple of program directors because we offer 3 different motorized courses, the instructor training course, the pro training course, which is actually 2 courses, and a rec level course. And so those duties were split. And so now this is really great. It's really enabled us to concentrate on expanding our capacity, but also our providers' capacity, and drive students to those new providers. So, it's really freed up the rest of the staff to really concentrate on those programs that they run to improve the instructor training course for everybody, whatever mode of travel that they're in, and likewise with the rec side and the pro side. So, this year in particular, we worked hard to create some virtual resources for folks, knowing that many of us weren't able to gather in person for, our classroom piece. And so it's been really great to be able to have Jeff take on the motorized program, to look at it as a program as a whole, to see all the pieces come together, from our intro rec course to our, very experienced Pro 2 course, to be able to take that on and dig in and add support to the students taking the courses, and the providers teaching the courses have been incredible. And it's something that will continue for sure for the next few seasons. Our providership is 114 providers in the US, and 8 of those are motorized. And we're trying to equal out that playing field. So we doubled it this year. We had 4 motorized providers last year. We had another 4 join us this year, and Jeff will talk about some of those folks a little later on.
That's awesome.
But it's been incredible for us. So
that's awesome. Now, you referenced in your conversation there the sweepstakes that we had, and we have actually one of our sweepstakes winners of the level 1 Avalanche classes with Matt Enns is here watching. So Kyle Franklin is watching, and
Who's
it's Kyle Franklin, so out of
amazing.
Truckee, California. So he's here
Very
watching.
cool.
And Kyle, if you haven't already, I know you're asking questions about how do you get connected with Matt. I know Kyle's been actually on this backcountry tour too. He was with us up in Sealy Lake, Montana for the Ride Rasmussen part of it. He was been touring around. And so, yeah, Kyle, you can reach out either directly to Matt Enns, directly, remind him. He'll have the reminder of the list of this sweepstakes that you guys have. Or you can email me and we can get you through Vickie. So we got a couple different ways we can get you back in touch with Matt. But just reference that you were the winner of the sweepstakes and we'll get you set up for some classes this year. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Well, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about the kind of the motorized program and kind of just an overview of kind of what you've been working on this year, some of the key initiatives you have, and then we'll kind of deep dive into them as we go through them. So
cool. Well, I guess I'll start by kind of talking about the phases of work we've been going through. You know, preseason we had spent a lot of time planning and setting things up, and this year was no different. On the rec side, Vickie alluded to some online content projects, and that was creating the AIARE online sort of platform, which was a huge step for us. And we did it in, you know, we've been talking about it for a couple of years, but we were, I think, forced by the situation to really play our cards in full and draw all of our resources together. And what we built was an online learning platform that lets students on the recreational side, that's students who are looking to take a Rec 1 or a Rec 2 course or an Avalanche Rescue course, go through the learning materials that we formerly only had classrooms for presenting that. So now students have this opportunity to engage in that material, learn at their own pace, and then come to the field sessions essentially prepared to go out in the field and make use of that time. So a huge step on AIARE's part to build that out. And I got to hand it that, you know, the majority of that work was done by a couple of really dedicated individuals on our team who really just pulled out all the stops this summer. Liz Riggs-Meter by name deserves a nod of, you know, just, she really knocked it out of the park this year with a big piece of work. So the students have that to work with, and that was a big piece of what we built for the recreational side of things. That supports the recreational Avalanche course providers. That's what AIARE does to support providers by providing tools that their students can use, that the instructors can use, that makes their job of delivering Avalanche education easier, more consistent, and we can sort of improve what we're teaching year over year by having a curriculum that sort of is ramping up and improving itself over time. And it's connected. The effort is to connect the instructors and to let them bring their expertise. I mean, they're the ones working with the students, right? They have the interaction. So when the instructors get to develop that stuff and work with that stuff alongside AIARE, we end up building a pretty solid program, I think. And that's one thing we really got to do this year, in spite of or maybe even because of the connection challenges. We were forced to sort of think of new ways to do it. We had to step up and do some things. And I'm pretty impressed with everything that was created this year on the rec side of things. So that supports the students on the rec side, that supports the instructors and the course providers. And then also to support all that, there's the professional side of what AIARE does, which is the pro courses, the Pro 1 and the Pro 2,
okay,
and also the Instructor Training course series and the Course Leader Training course series. So in sum, that's 21 days of professional Avalanche education that AIARE writes the program for, hires the instructors, and delivers that. So that's different than the rec side of things. This is stuff where we're actually the instructors and we're doing the sort of the professional development, offering that piece to folks. And that's something that's really grown on the motorized side over the last 3 to 4 years at AIARE, is the development of the professional course opportunities for snowmobilers. Previous to about 4 or 5 years ago, you wouldn't have the opportunity to take a professional Avalanche course if you didn't know how to ski or snowboard.
Yeah, that's just amazing to think, right? That the amount of impact that collectively we're making for the motorized community, and to think that an Avalanche instructor previous to however many years ago it was would have had to been on snowshoes or skis to even go out and then teach folks on snowmobiles, right? And the more and more I've attended different classes, I continue to hear the references of like how a motorized user just uses the terrain differently and how they're approaching the terrain from sometimes different angles, sometimes from the bottom instead of the top or vice versa. And just the uniqueness, there's so many similarities and all the content is amazing and similar, but to be able to teach it in a way that it really resonates with the people who are hearing it, I think is impressive. So nice work on all that. So
I think at the end of the day, what's motivating us to do that is just the idea of inclusivity. Bottom
yeah,
line, we want to be able to offer courses that speak to our audience and are taught by members of the audience. So there's not this miscarried belief that we're somehow getting the message across when in fact that's not really happening. So so anyhow, yeah, the pro courses this year. That's kind of the big difference between the pro and the rec programs. And, I just kind of highlight a couple of things from the courses we did this year. We had a pro course in Togety in December. It was, we had students from 3 different states represented there.
okay,
And then we took a Christmas break, and then we came back over the first of the year and did an instructor training course again at Togety. So 2 courses sort of back to back with a little lap home for Christmas. There were 7 states represented during the ITC. So
wow,
just an amazing reach geographically of interest and skills and talent and stories and just new additions to the Avalanche profession. And those were all dedicated motorized users who really wouldn't take that course if it wasn't presented that way.
yeah.
So
Are you
pretty cool.
finding that there's any kind of a consistent theme from the people who are coming into these courses as far as like their personal background, maybe their previous professional background, whether they're like passionate because they were directly involved with a friend or a family member in an Avalanche? Like, is there anything that stood out to you as you kind of interact with a number of people that, stood out as like why they're pursuing Avalanche education? Or is it just kind of, and it's not bad either, right? If it's all over the board and like we have just a diverse group of people coming in, that's amazing as well. But just curious if anything stood out to you as you interact with a lot of those folks.
I think there was maybe 2 themes that kind of came out of that that I could point a finger on. Those that were interested in Avalanche education were largely folks that were have been affected by an avalanche in one way, shape, or form. There's
Yeah.
a personal connection, a personal desire to educate or inform, something that was driven from within on that level. The other type of students that I would kind of classify as like the student who is interested in becoming a guide,
Okay.
and they're looking at the
That makes sense.
profession of working in the outdoors on snowmobiles and the evolution of that career track,
Yeah.
how to be better prepared and qualified and skilled for that job as the idea of taking people in the backcountry on snowmobiles is evolving. It's not what it was. So
Well,
I think there's a genuine interest on that level too.
yeah. Well, it's comforting to think that, like, as an industry, if you hire a professional guide to go ride with, more and more of them are going to be professionally trained instructors with Avalanche education. And I know that gives me a lot of peace of mind knowing that I'm going out into the backcountry with somebody not only who, quote unquote, knows the area, but knows how to navigate it in a safe and mindful way. So that, every trip has to be a round trip, right? So,
Well, there's something about guiding too. It's my perspective that the best guides I've learned from are also people who are like coaches or teachers or just kind of have that personality of wanting to share and see improvement.
yeah.
So it kind of goes hand in hand that instructors and guides kind of are cut from the same cloth in that sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. And so, I know one thing we wanted to do here tonight, and then we'll kind of bounce back and forth, is, all of this work and this effort and going into the sweepstakes is we, ended up offering up a number of scholarships that were, donated or, not donated, but like the money that was raised from them, and then people who had applied for them too. And we have quite a spectrum of scholarship recipients that I want to go through and kind of recognize tonight too. And I know, Vickie, you're going to help us out with that a little bit too. But, what was the final number for this season of the scholarship recipients that we've already been able to support this year with the sweepstakes that everybody helped out with?
Yeah, so just to recap the sweepstakes itself.
Easy for you to say, right?
Tricky. Through the Avalanche Alliance, with the climb sweepstakes. We raised over $167,000.
Wow.
And then outside of that, John, you started this back in September, actually, raising money through shirts that, we're all wearing through your online store.
By the way, let's see your Superman shirt underneath. Come on. So it's so funny, guys. We got prepared to come on the
tonight.
Yeah, we got prepared to get on the show tonight. And we both turned on our cameras and we're like, "Oh, nice shirt." It's the Live Large University. It's the Live Large University scholarship shirt, right? That's right. There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, so we're not, just as a reminder, is that sweepstakes was incredible, but this started with an idea from Jon, and your support's been incredible. So we have actually raised more than that. It's closer to $175,000 for the scholarships in total. Now we aren't giving all of those away this year.
Yep.
We hope to feed about 3 years worth of scholarships from that seed money, and of course we'll be continuing to raise money on top of that, so that every year we can give away more and more. But this year we gave away 27 scholarships, about $22,000 worth.
Yeah, that's amazing. And these were like professional folks who are going in to be pro level, educators and guides and all these things. And kind of the criteria, just as a reminder for anybody who is ever interested in applying for a scholarship, really the criteria is that you have a desire to help develop and grow the whole idea of avalanche awareness and education in the motorized community, right? Like, it doesn't matter if, maybe you're somebody from a snowmobile club, or maybe you ride with a big group of people from, the Midwest, and you're bringing people, out west with a group, and you're the one kind of helping lead and coordinate these rides. But bottom line is, we're not necessarily going to give an avalanche scholarship to somebody who, I just want to take a scholarship, I just want to take a class, right, for myself and then go ride with one other buddy, right? Like, that's not really what it's about. It's more about, think of it as seed money of how do we grow and quote unquote infect COVID-19, like, right, the entire motorized community with education and that inspiration for getting out there and making a difference, right? Like, we want to be able to seed people who are going to go out there into their group and their community and help encourage others to do the same. And so we gave away a number of both, pro level scholarships as well as recreational scholarships. And I'd love to just take an opportunity, kind of like, just if you're okay with it, Vickie, or do we have the list of names available to be able to kind of read through and just recognize some of the folks? And maybe, again, I'll just say, like, Bob Smith took a, rec class, and just kind of call out the different classes that people got approved for.
Yeah, you got it. So I'll start with our instructor training.
Sure.
Course. We awarded 7 scholarships there. These folks are now AIARE instructors, and they can now go and get a job with one of these providers, or heck, maybe they want to, start their own providership somewhere where they see a need, or maybe there's a need in your community for somebody out there that's watching. So pay attention to these names, and if you know them, they have the ability to bring an AIARE class to your community.
That's awesome.
Patrick Kennedy, Amy David, Caleb Red, Dylan Crayback, Cody Richmond, Kelsey Fay, and Kelly McNeil.
I recognize some of those names as local people up here in the Pacific Northwest, so I know that's investing in our local community up here, and there's other people from all over the country. I know the many states are represented in that list. So.
Mm-hmm. And then we gave away 9 pro level scholarships, and we do have 2 courses, a Pro 1 and a Pro 2.
Okay.
Pro 1's a prereq to take an instructor training course. A Pro 2 is a prereq to take a course leader training course. So many of these folks are on the road to becoming an instructor, or maybe they're already an instructor. Mm-hmm. A lot of these, as Jeff has said, are guides in the community. So again, people to look to either teach AIARE courses or take a guided course or skills class from.
Yeah.
So I'll read that list. Patrick Kennedy, Tasha Thomas, John Miller, Mike Langhenry, Hank Kennedy, Brett Rasmussen, Kevin Allred, Matt Entz, and Andy Urban.
What I'm excited about is I've already directly benefited from this, because Mike Langhenry was one of my instructors with Brian Lundstedt in Tyler's Backcountry Awareness, and I got to experience that firsthand too. And so, and knowing that the money is going into investing in people like Mike and these different folks that I've heard the names that I'm familiar with, it's just amazing that we got there too. And there's actually a question/comment that popped up in the comments here. I'm going to read because I'm going to address it right here on the spot. Is Bill Yeager, who's actually a local guy, part of our local snowmobile club here. He coincidentally is part of Search and Rescue. It says, I would like to see a scholarship for search and rescue personnel. And Bill, the good news is that there's absolutely no reason that someone who is going and participating and supporting search and rescue and is looking to get an AIARE Level 1 or AIARE Level 2 scholarship in the future, there's absolutely no reason you can't apply. And, having something on your resume or your application saying you're part of search and rescue, that's what this is all about. It's all about, investing in people who are investing in our community and supporting our community. And so, along with a lot of the other things that are there too. So would encourage you, Bill, and anybody else who's part of search and rescue to apply for these scholarships so that we can continue to, invest in our communities across the country. So.
All right. And then we've got a rec level. We awarded 11 scholarships to take an AIARE 1 or AIARE 2 with one of those 8 AIARE providers. Yep. So I'll read those names. James Kaufman, Ryan Coach, Jamie Zelm, Kevin Carell, Linda Batterton, Matt Thomas, William Rutherford, Maurice Wills, Andrew Noble, Nathan Lind, and Scott Zinkowitz.
Yep. Also some names I'm familiar with over the time that we've done the show. And, that's the nice part is a lot of the way the communication to get out to the folks that these scholarships are eligible is through the show and the way we've communicated it. And so seeing people who are regular followers of the show, send their application in and having the AIARE board review it and approve them. I'm thankful for too, you guys, AIARE, because it's not, I'm one vote of many, but, my say is a piece of it, but ultimately AIARE has the final say on who the recipients of the scholarships are. And when we all kind of vote and see that we have people who are investing in the community, it's amazing to kind of see that kind of support back. So.
Yeah, and just a note, so it was 27 individuals.
Wow.
Only 5 women and 22 men. And, AIARE's working really hard to even out the gender balance. Of scholarships that we're giving out, people that are going through our courses, of instructors that teach for us. And it's a long road, but it's a road that we're putting a lot of work into. So, ladies out there, I know you're out there on Instagram. There's all these ladies groups. Spread the word. We'd love to see that be more even next year. We're really doing our best trying to level the playing field on the instructor side. We had a couple of women going through our instructor training course this year, specifically on the motorized course, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Go take a course from one of these incredible women.
Yep, that's awesome. So there's a lot of initiatives across the country with ladies' rides and ladies' clinics and stuff too. And so I know there's a heavy focus on just growing the support for ladies in the sport, right, and getting them more included and involved in snowmobiling and getting out there, excluding their men. Like when the ladies, like my wife, have a ladies' ride and they go to it, we hold very sadly we hold an abandoned men's ride on the other side of the mountain usually. So. And so there, so a lot of these ladies are abandoned men that we have to try to kind of, get together and sport too. But I love, this is really impressive, Vickie, is that this year, and I'm so proud of her, and she's getting tired of me saying this, but my wife this season, for the first time ever, is on a 1-to-1 ratio for ride days with me. Normally I ride 2 to 3 times more than she does. This year, Edith has ridden 1-for-1 as many days as I have this year, and we've not ridden together at all this season so far. And it's been an amazing experience of, getting ladies in the sport and getting them more engaged is working, hopefully. So.
Yeah, that's really great. Cool.
Yep. Awesome.
I think, it's pretty cool to have this list of scholarship winners in front of us, and it's really just inspiring to think about next year. And we're going to have another class next year. So, I think it's just really inspiring to see that and to think about and to sort of capture that work that we did this year and push it forward another round.
Yep, that's awesome. And so, Jeff, I know we took some notes here ahead of time. I'm just kind of scanning through them. What would you like to cover next? I know we've got some information. I think you've touched on them, but was there more depth you wanted to go into to kind of describing the difference between a rec course and a pro level course, or is that something you felt you've already covered in the depth you need to?
Well, I'll mention it a little bit just to kind of wrap up that thought since you asked.
Sure.
People sometimes wonder about which course is appropriate for them. And I think in answer to that question, if you're interested in avalanches for your own travel, for your group's travel, and what you're doing with your friends, the recreational course classes are designed for that. It's a 7-day stream of recreational avalanche course
Mm-hmm.
curriculum, starting with Area 1, followed by the Avalanche Rescue, and capped off with the Area 2. That's 7 days of combined avalanche education curriculum is designed to afford the recreational user all of the tools they need to go out and be an effective participant, member of a backcountry team, making all the decisions in the backcountry they need to make. The reason pro courses exist and the reason they're separated is to provide focused industry level training for professionals. And the big difference there is not the content, but the fact that it includes an evaluation or an examination. So if you like exams and like exam stress, like by all means, sign up for a pro course. They're awesome. But if you don't need that in your life and you're just looking to get avalanche education, then take the Area 1, take the rescue course, and then take the Area 2. Like be involved in continuing your avalanche education to get the most out of what's been designed here.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll say to kind of to that extent, because I think it's important that people don't end up going into pro courses when it's not the right direction for them.
Yeah, because frankly, it could scare them off or kind of distract them from where they probably need to focus their attention, right? So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that there's a lot to be gained from spending time in the recreational setting with your peers, with the people you ride with, taking courses together. That's really how you affect how a riding group operates, what they know and how they practice in the backcountry. And that's, I think at the end of the day, our goal as instructors is to affect the way people practice.
No,
So
that's awesome.
cool. While we're on the subject of scholarships, I just kind of want to wrap up a quick note of all the sponsors to acknowledge.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, there's a pretty big list, and I just kind of take a quick moment here to kind of highlight that list. The Avalanche Alliance, kind of organized by Climb, but Avalanche Alliance stands alone as a entity. It's on the web by itself, avalanchealliance.org. It's a good website. It's a good clearinghouse for information, and you can see links to all of these sponsors I'm going to mention here. But Climb, as an outerwear company, as a innovator in the avalanche in the backcountry snowmobile world, has really stepped up and led this charge. On the next level with sponsorship is Marlin Decks and Fly Racing and Polaris Snowmobiles. They all stepped up in a huge way to fund this and to provide the gear and just kind of the publicity, let everybody know what's going on. Next level of sponsors was Seat Concepts, Jon Ferrian Live. That's you, Mr. J.
Woo.
Jon Ferrian there. Camzo Tracks and Camzo Rubber Products, Starting Line Products. Those companies round out that level. And then also Ice Age products, Zebros products, and Mountain Lab Concepts, or Mountain Lab. It's
Mountain Lab Gear, I think.
skills group.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mountain Lab, Mountain Riding Lab, right? Or no, I'm trying to remember.
I think they're a slightly different group, so it's a skills group. So lots of things to keep track of out there. But I just want to acknowledge those companies that stepped up and I don't know, supported this campaign, if you will. It was amazing what got done through the collaboration there. So hopefully things like this are a factor in the future. We can continue to broaden this level of coalition and really improve on, I don't know, how we address this as a culture, as an industry, and make this a important concern for all of us. On a high level that we were able and comfortable to talk about and have the resources to talk about. Really important to us. So big thanks to all those groups. And then while I'm thinking about thank yous, it's really important that I thank the area instructors, the people who are doing the actual teaching and meeting the students. That's the face of what AIARE is, the success of what AIARE is. really is built on the instructors and the people who deliver the curriculum. It's not the boxes we create. It's how the instructors teach the students to use the tools. So just want to acknowledge that. Those were some really important messages I wanted to give out there as we were kind of going through that. So thanks.
Well, and speaking of those area providers that you're talking about, I know something that I'm privy to, Jeff, and I think a few others might be, but let's tell the rest of the world about it, is your little, let's call it, I'm going to call it the Jeff Hambelton AIARE World Tour, but let's be honest, it was more of a Western United States tour. But you just finally got home here about a week ago, or a little less than a week ago, from was it a 6-week expedition across the Western United States, or was it 5 weeks roughly, or what was it?
I lost track of time, and maybe that's a good thing. But all said and done, I've been home for 2.5 weeks of the season so far. So spent the majority of the season on the road, and seen a lot of the Western U.S. in the process. It's been quite an amazing trip.
What were you doing on that journey, Jeff? I know I got to see you on part of it, but let's fill everybody in on kind of what your mission was for that trip and what you got to do.
It was something that started last year, talking with a couple of the area course providers about linking up and trying to teach together. These were students of mine at various stages of their pro education and their course providers. So they're running businesses, and the opportunity to try to link up and teach courses together has been in conversation. And we started to put it together this year. And I ended up leaving Jackson Hole middle of January, and after working with both the AIARE Pro courses and the Mountain Riding Lab. So did an avalanche rescue course in the Jackson Hole area with Mountain Riding Lab, did the pro courses with AIARE, and then I hit the road for Colorado. Ended up in the Steamboat Springs area teaching with Brian Lundstedt and Tyler's Backcountry Awareness. We worked there for a weekend, and then we hopped on the road. I hopped on the road and went to all the way down to southeast Colorado to Wolf Creek Pass and worked with Matt Entz for a week.
That's awesome.
Big thanks to Matt and his family for their hospitality, the scene that they've created, some of their co-instructors and guides, James Galagos and Cole Wilford were there. Super fun guys to work with, and just a really, really fun experience down there in Wolf Creek. I left Wolf Creek and went up to Gunnison, Colorado, Crested Butte area, where I worked with Irwin Guides. Irwin Guides is a noted backcountry ski operation, cat skiing operation. Been in business there for a long time in the Crested Butte area. And there's a spot there called Taylor Park, and there's just a huge motorized interest in that community. And nobody was doing there was a need for a motorized avalanche course in that valley. And so Irwin put this together. Stepped up to become a motorized course provider this year. They brought myself in to work with one of their veteran instructors who also rides a snowmobile.
Awesome.
Wasn't just a ski guide coming off on a snowmobile. He was a legitimate snowmobiler. Yeah. Just sort of paired us up. So Ian Havlick, a big nod, thanks to him and the Irwin Guides crew for putting this together. We worked together up in the Taylor Park area for a weekend. That was like my third or fourth visit to the Continental Divide on this trip. Made it all the way up to 12,200 feet. So that was the high point so far.
So how was the breathing up? How was the breathing up there?
Let's just say I live at 575 feet.
I'm at 400 feet.
I wouldn't want to have to do avalanche rescue. That would be tough.
Yeah.
So yeah, things that we're factoring into how we traveled for sure. But yeah, the beautiful high country up there. Beautiful to see, and we enjoyed a very mellow, nice day on the crest. Light winds of 10 to 15 miles an hour and sunny. And apparently, it can get much worse than that. So I've heard.
Like Sealy Lake, for example, right?
Yeah. Vickie's nodding like she's been to the crest up there and seen that. It's a moonscape, so I imagine it gets a little blown off sometimes.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So Irwin was fun. Crested Butte area. I left there and went up to Montana, and that's where I ended up running in to you.
Okay.
Got to go to Sealy Lakes for 4 days. Again, working with Brian Lundstedt, Tyler's Backcountry Awareness.
And we had
and
Ride Rasmussen Style Unseen, which is one of our providers too. They weren't directly involved in the Avalanche education piece of this particular event, but they were there supporting it. And even during the Avalanche classes, we had the Ride Rasmussen instructors there kind of helping get us out on the snow and, keeping us in the terrain that was safe. So they played a role in that too. And it's just kind of cool to hear all 4 of these motorized providers from AIARE in your interaction with them this season, along with a few others even that weren't the official, dedicated motorized, but just helping expand into the motorized community. I love that, right? It's amazing that we got to kind of touch base with all of them through the season. So you ended up in
and that's just part 1. I'm gearing up for part 2 right now. I'm about to hit the road again.
That's awesome.
I'll be down in your neck of the woods over the week, teaching a little bit with Kittitas County Sheriff's Office, and then
Gotcha.
next weekend I'll be teaching an Area 1 course, a motorized course with the American Alpine Institute, which is a local Washington provider, and we've been doing motorized courses for 4 years now with Tom Curtis and myself as the instructors there. So one of the 8 providers, and we'll do that level 1 this weekend, and then I'm off to Stanley, Idaho for working on the Pro 2 course.
Nice.
For a week or so there around the 1st of March. And then when I get home, there's another course we're going to do. We're going to do an Area 2 motorized specific course with the American Alpine Institute. That's based out of Bellingham there. But we'll be doing the course up on Baker. It'll be an Area 2. And so it's a 3-day course. And right now I just checked in this week, there is room in that course still, which surprised me, but there's still a couple of slots. So I just want all your viewers to know that there's room in a Mount Baker based Area 2 for those who have taken an Area 1 and an Avalanche rescue course. They would be qualified to take that. So
is that going to be
happening.
Are they able to take that Area level 2 on snowmobile, or is that going to be a ski only? Or
this is a motorized specific.
It is. Awesome.
It's only for snowmobilers on this course, this case.
Very cool.
We're going to not allow the skis. They're
all right.
not going to come. Yeah, sorry. You can't take it on your skis, John. I'm sorry.
Well, you got skis on the snowmobile, so it kind of works. So
it does work. Yeah, totally legit. So that's the road trip has been all about this year. I don't know, I'm over 3,000 miles already this year on my 94 Chevy. So just got it back from the shop. It's got a new radiator in it. It's doing great. Mechanic says, go ahead. Cross my fingers. You'll be fine.
There you go. Well, Kyle Franklin, who ran into you out in Montana, wants to know if you bothered putting the passenger seat back in your truck yet, or if you still got all that room for storage.
I just put the passenger seat back in today. It was a Valentine's Day thing. We needed to go for a drive, and I thought the back seat was a bad move.
That's classy right there. That's classy. That's amazing. So yeah. Is there any thing with the Montana trip that you want to highlight before we move off of this subject? I know you kind of whipped through that quick, and I know you got to interact with those guys up there.
I want to highlight Carrie Vammer and what she's doing with the Driven program
She's watching tonight. She's watching tonight, by the way, cheering you on.
That's cool. But
hey, Carrie.
To organize a deal like that for riders to be able to come out and get the education, get a skills session, put the whole thing together in a package. I mean, not everybody's gonna be able to make that their target, but I think that at the end of the day, that's an example of really creative assembly of cool bits and pieces that make it an outstanding experience. There's talk of throwing some first aid classes into her program for that next year, and I think that's just an awesome way to round out the idea of come and take the appropriate bucket of information, the piece that's right for you, but there's something in this week that's there for everybody. I think she's assembling a pretty cool idea. So Rich Ranch Guest House hosted that. They were amazing. That family there, the history of what's going on, how they've captured it, and the story they tell is just makes for an incredible location. It was just, I don't know, fantastic to be part of that.
How much weight did you gain while you were there, Jeff?
I still can't fit in the. No. It's a good thing I'm wearing a onesie this year, John.
Oh my God, I came back and I swear to God, I gained I think like 5 or 6 pounds in that week. Luckily, about 4 days later, I was back down again. But oh my God, did they feed you like just They're used to feeding
That's
horses out there at a ranch, and they just kind of kept the horse troughs going in the kitchen in there too.
Mhm.
And it was like amazing food, so much of it, and amazing company as well. So we had such, it was so cool to have you there to be part of it. So
Yeah, so there's that. Ride Rasmussen guides, Clyde Leonard and Craig. I forget Craig's last name, but those guys were on point. Cameron
Commenti, yep.
Chiamenti, C3 Guiding. He was there offering things up for a couple days. Just a fantastic group of people in the industry to meet. A lot of names I've heard before, and to spend time with them and hang out, and they're just as rad as I thought they'd be. So that was really cool. And to cap it off with 4 to 5 feet of snow, I mean, that was arguably it's in my top 5 days all time.
Yeah,
and it was 2 of them strung together.
It was
So,
for me
pretty
like,
rad.
yeah, my like those 2 days back to back were in my top 3 ride days like ever as far as deep epic POW. It was just amazing. Vickie, we were literally on Monday, the first day of our level 1 avalanche class. We rode right out of the lodge where, you know, it was a little thinner snow down there, but there were south facing aspects where we were legitimately riding on dirt on Monday. Those
Oh my
same
gosh.
those same areas by Friday and Saturday locally by the lodge there probably had 2 to 3 feet of snow on them, and then the riding areas we hit across town literally had 4 to 5 feet of fresh snow on top of another 4-foot base
Wow.
or more. It was just crazy how much snow they ended up having that 1 week. So
Does
yeah,
that mean you all got a lot of practice digging your snowmobiles
oh
out
yeah,
of
oh yeah,
deep powder?
absolutely,
shovel
absolutely.
experts.
Important
Yeah,
skill to learn.
I just want to thank Carl and Shannon. They were they were our hosts there at the Rich Ranch, and they really set up an awesome trip for us. They guided us well in the mountains. You know, really selected appropriate terrain for our group. We had a good time. So they took a
That's
lot of
awesome.
stress and made it pretty enjoyable. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that was a pretty awesome place. Pretty cool thing to do. A really good example of how people can get involved in avalanche education at various levels.
Yeah.
What's out there. So.
Nope, that's cool.
Uh,
So we got the rest of this season. You've covered a lot of what you're going to be doing, you know, for the next several weeks again going forward. But then even looking forward, Jeff, into next season, you know, between Vickie and Jeff here, I'll let you guys go, but I'll turn to Jeff first and see if Vickie has anything she wants to add afterwards. But, you know, what's the vision going forward into next season now, and what's the evolution for AIARE and the motorized program?
Well, I'll have to confess, my head is pretty much in the education game right now. So I'm thinking mostly about the students and what students need to be doing, and how I'm going to be working for the students. So my comments are focused on that. And I bet there's some other things that are in the background I should be thinking about too. But focused on education, for the students out there who are thinking about taking pro courses, if you're interested in that sort of thing, if that's a direction you want to consider, I encourage you, those students, those prospective people, to take a look at our website and take a look at the pre-course requirements and start getting to work on some of those things. It's this type of thing that takes a season or so to get ready for, to be prepared for, to take a pro course. It's not a elective in September that you suddenly decide to go and do.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that out there. If people think about pro courses, our website, www.avtraining.org/pro1, it'll take you right to the Pro 1 course requirements. Likewise, if you've taken the Pro 1 and you're interested in becoming an AIARE instructor, the same sort of thing. There's some pre-course things to be thinking about, some planning ahead to be doing to prepare for that objective. So those are some like student-oriented things that I'm focused on for those students. And then I think for everybody else that's out there, the rest of the season is just beginning right now. The snowpack is just filling in, and we're just now getting to go time out in the mountains. And this year's been already just kind of a tragic year. We're already up to 24 fatalities in the U.S. right now, which is it's a high number for any year, and it's a really high number for this time of the year. And we've had a really, really, I think, surprising sequence in the sense that the mountains developed a pretty wicked snowpack across the Mountain West. It's pretty universal. There's not a snowpack in the Northwest that I trust, a snowpack in the West anywhere that I really trust, well right now. So I'm just looking at snowpacks with that eye of suspicion. And, we've got a long season, and a lot of the best riding is February to April. So I just want to encourage people to have a really open mind about riding conservatively and picking safe places to be in the mountains right now. There's a lot of season to go explore. And I want to kind of point towards the future in that respect, so we can be mindful of that.
Well, and I think of Jeff, I think of historically, like, I started riding in 2007, and frankly, from 2007 until probably 2011 or 12, like I didn't, I rode from the Midwest out in the West and took, a few rides a year. So I was only really ever following the avalanche conditions for like a week or two a year, during those times I was riding. But since I moved here to Washington State, one thing that has started to kind of pop up on my radar, at least here in the Washington State, and I think mostly across the country, is that it seems like that last week of January, all of February into that first or second week of March is kind of what I've viewed historically as the peak time when the highest risk of fatalities, right? And sadly, this year it's playing true again, right? Like it's literally been since the end of January, the last 2 to 3 weeks here, that it's spiked just dramatically. And we're not through the cycle yet. I guess that's what I want to call everybody out, is that, you know what, like, you can't just be like, oh yeah, that was bad for that few weeks, like it'll get better. Like historically speaking, like it's all the way into the first half of March that before things, generally historically settle down. And that doesn't mean it's going to settle down this year, right? Like every year is a different snowpack, every year is a different thing, but everybody needs to be on high alert for the next month again, going into this, the backcountry and, the areas they're riding, and, just literally, I'll share a personal experience I had yesterday, and I think it's really important, is that I went up riding yesterday with my wife and a few friends from our snowmobile club. We knew the avalanche danger was high, so we went to the most mellow terrain that we could find that we knew, stayed on a trail loop, and as we stayed on the trail loop and got into some flat meadows and stayed out of avalanche terrain, even along the trails, we were seeing the top foot of the storm slab just hair triggers. Like you'd be riding down the trail and there would be stuff ahead of us that was breaking in small chunks when people would bump up against the wall a little bit. A 10-foot section would fall out of the side of the trail. And there was one section literally where someone had triggered it, and there was probably a 200-foot section along the trail. Granted, it was only 15 to 10 feet tall. It wasn't anything massive, but it just showed me that it's propagating. And so the one and only time that I've witnessed that personally before was, I think it was 3 seasons ago, and it was right before the cycle that we lost. I think it was 6 or 7 people, or 5, something about 5 people in the state of Washington, all in a 3-week period, right? And like it just got hair on the back of my neck standing up on end, and it just, we played it super safe. I actually, to demonstrate, you go to my Facebook page, like there was a little 10-foot tall hill right on the side of the trail that there was no risk above it at all. And so I came from the top of it just on a little knoll and roll over it, and just it broke away, and just to demonstrate to everybody like how easy this will break here. And it's, there's things you can do to test. You can dig snow pits. You can do, some small scale, very micro terrain that there's no risk in, and demonstrate, what is possible and it's going to break, and then just play it smart from there, along with following the forecast. And I don't know. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm in a weird spot right now. Like it's hard to get in my head mentally when it comes to getting out in the snow there, but I'm at the point where I'm a little freaked out by the snowpack right now too. And like, I'm just playing it as safe can be right now. So,
well, the thing that's interesting to me, John, is that in the Northwest, we're pretty accustomed to dealing with short-term avalanche problems.
Yeah.
Things that rise and fall, like, this is going to go away in a couple weeks. It's not that big a deal. And you referenced this season a couple years ago where we had a cycle of 3 weeks in a row with major avalanche accidents.
Yep.
6 people ended up losing their lives in that cycle. And what strikes me as similar about this season right now is the big rain event we had in mid-January that caused the, I would call it the Cascade Ice Dome.
Yeah.
All of our mountains got filled up to about 100 inches of base and then froze over solid, and it made them nice and smooth. And now we're building a new snowpack on top of that.
Yep. And
that snowpack is behaving like an early season Continental snowpack by the way it's structured on the mountains, and it's reacting that way. It's surprising. It's producing larger and more catastrophic avalanches. And this is similar to what we're seeing out in the Rockies in the central part of the country right now. This, the what do we call the Continental Snowpacks. The avalanche problems are related to old problems. So they've kind of built a significant slab. It's strong snow. It breaks into really destructive avalanches.
Mhm.
And that's what's sitting on really weak snow at the bottom. And, depending on how you look at it, everywhere in the Mountain West kind of has a structure that's somewhat described by that characteristic.
Yeah.
Really strong snow sitting on top of really weak snow.
Yep.
Those avalanches are bigger, scarier, harder to predict, and way more deadly than our normal run-of-the-mill avalanches.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what's different about this year right now.
Yep. And that's, one thing I'll tell you is that, getting the education and having that level 1 AIARE fresh in my mind, my companion rescue fresh in my mind from just a little over a week ago, like those are all things that are helping me make decisions every day and every week when I go out on the snow. And I'm thankful for that experience because, daily as I'm out on the backcountry, I run into folks who just frankly are unaware, don't know, and watching them make bad decisions and trying then to interact with folks who you want to kind of give them the heads up and coach them without sounding preachy. And you just walk away hoping like, man, I hope they make it home today. It's, there's just, yeah, I don't know. I get emotional about this stuff because it's like, I take it so personal because we work so hard to get the word out there. And I just know that it's impossible to get the word out to everybody. I can't. But one thing that we can do is everybody who watches this show and is at this point in the episode, if you haven't already, or even if you have, share it out again. Like just get this information out, help, get the whole concept of avalanche education and promoting safe backcountry riding out to all of your peers, your friends, and even your strangers that maybe from a local club or just a page that you have out there that you follow. So that's, I guess, the favor I would ask everybody is just make sure that you're doing your part. So.
That's I think asking people to share this out, asking people to continue to spread the word. That's what we do. And to that extent, I kind of want to, Vickie, if it's all right to ask you a little bit to what can we do to help AIARE? What can AIARE, what's the
great question.
What can the motorized community do to help AIARE at this point? Moving into this part of the season and looking forward to next year.
I mean, what I would say is support the AIARE providers that are out there. We're working really hard to grow the capacity for our motorized program here at AIARE. And that depends on a few things. It depends on providers wanting to be part of our program. It depends on instructors being able to be trained into that program. And it depends on recreationalists wanting to go out and get that education. And so, all these components is what make the flywheel spin. And so, I would say, go out in your community and seek these providers out. We've got 8 folks out there already who are providing AIARE education. And if you don't have somebody in your community who provides it, get in touch with us. Ask those people to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
Jeff's been such a great addition. He's been working with AIARE for a really long time. But it's so nice to have him in this concentrated capacity where he can really help individuals, educators, provider out there build these programs and serve your communities. So let us know what your community needs, and we can help connect some dots and bring more education to your community. That's the biggest thing. Truly is that drive for the education.
Yep. And I've been accused of it before, and you can accuse me of it again, and I'm happy to play the part is to be the connector, right? Like if for some reason somebody watches this and they don't know how to get a hold of it, and who was Vickie who, and who was Jeff who, and they don't know how to get a hold of you guys, which they will. But if not, they can always reach out to me, and I'd be happy to kind of help, guide them to you as well. And by the way, our good friend Brian Lundstedt is watching tonight too. So shout out to Brian. Thanks for everything you're doing out there, and all the other motorized providers and AIARE providers that are out there making a difference. So.
Yeah, Brian's been with us from the beginning at Tyler's Backcountry Awareness. So
yep, that's awesome.
Hi, Brian.
Awesome. Well, guys, anything else you want to cover tonight before we wrap up this romantic Valentine's night expedition that we have going on here?
I guess just echoing what you two were just talking about, be really safe out there, be cautious, understand what avalanche terrain is. And if you don't know what that is, find out. Go talk to somebody, go take an awareness course, go take one of our courses. There's plenty of fun riding to be had. I was in the backcountry 3 times this week, skiing super safe terrain.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of places to go. It's just all about understanding where you can go, avoiding avalanche terrain, and building in those margins. So I think, you know, everybody's here obviously because we're so psyched at being in the backcountry, and we just want to help facilitate as many people safely traveling in the backcountry as possible. So
That's awesome.
Just be careful. Yeah,
yep, that's awesome.
These avalanches break my heart.
So thank you for that, Vickie. And as you guys know, I wear many hats, literally and figuratively. And one thing that, as you were talking there, just reminded me of, you know, getting the word out to folks is I'm actually really proud of this. And I don't know if, Vickie, if you're even aware of this yet, but on the 15th, which is tomorrow night, the Northwest Avalanche Center, which is our local Avalanche Center that Jeff is also affiliated with here locally, is putting on an online avalanche awareness course that'll be broadcast, you know, anywhere people want to. But guess what? I don't know if this has been done before, Vickie. You can tell me. You probably will tell me if it is done. But they're actually going to do it with support of an interpreter for American Sign Language. So they're actually going to
see that.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
That's amazing. And I actually know people personally who in our local area who are deaf, that, you know, they can't hear, and they're backcountry enthusiasts. And so to have this available as a local resource that can be shared broadly, I'll just throw that shout out there too. And I'll share that on my personal page if anybody wants. They can check out that link. And it's cool because, you know, it's just an avalanche awareness class, and I think many of us have taken it before. But to have one that is being signed in American Sign Language, I just think is really impressive. And it just shows, Vickie, you know, earlier you were calling out, you know, the idea of diversity and inclusion and broadening our sport to women, and also then, you know, whether it be minorities or whether it be people with disabilities or whatever it is, just allowing access to everybody to be part of this incredible experience that we call backcountry, you know, travel, right? Whether it be touring or snowmobiling or whatever it is. So
yeah, that's great.
Awesome. Thanks for letting me put that plug in for that. That was kind of cool. I thought, I don't know why it just triggered my head as you were talking about it. So, all right, Jeff.
Well, it's a free awareness class. Everyone should go take it if they haven't taken one yet.
Exactly. All right. Final thought. I'm good. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody.
No, just say goodbye to everybody, and thanks for having me on again, having us on again. You know, just kind of last words, you know, go out and get rad this year, but let's get rad and come home. This is we're learning something this year about the conditions and about ourselves. Remember, it's teamwork that makes the dream work. So go out there and operate like a team. Bring them all home.
Well, and as I always say, God bless everybody, and don't forget to live large. Have a great night. Happy Valentine's Day too, by the way. Good night. Bye.